What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's Irate Prostate here. It is Sunday. You know what that means? It's time for ice cream. That's right. Sit down and grab you a big old bowl of ice cream. And today's ice cream is flavored Ace of Skulls. This is a guy I met. I met him just last week, and we got in a brief conversation in a stream. And my brain just said, "Man, I gotta know more about this guy." So, Ace, say hi to the crew, and we'll get rolling.
Everybody doing today? I am Ace of Skulls. I recently came onto YouTube like 2 months ago. Met some good people. Met Irate Prostate. I've actually known about Irate Prostate for a while, so when I got a chance to talk to him, I gotta try talk to him and see if there's something good that we could possibly do.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning. That's what I say. We are only beginning. It's only just begun. But yeah, I was thinking about some stuff to talk about. Like the other night, you had mentioned. What I'd like to ask people first of all is, okay, A, what was your main reason for starting an account on YouTube, and B, where did your name and avatar come from?
The reason why I started my whole YouTube thing, I actually first started on Twitch, and I started with gaming streaming, and apparently I am not that good with gaming, so I know a little bit about politics, the military, and different things like that, so I think I could contribute to a lot of the conversations that are going on. That's how I kind of jumped into there. Also, like when I was first starting my channel, the Cunt Stream had a live call-in show. So I was like, all right, screw it. Let me call in and talk to these guys. And from there, I met Trippy Poop. Then I talked to him more. Apparently, I blew his mind a little like I did with you, Irate. And then, yeah, and then he asked me to be a co-host on his show, so I started doing that, and me, Trippy, and a guy named Full Metal Pickle got our own show on the Cunt Stream, which is musical literacy on Thursday nights.
Cool. And so is that still rolling, or was that a couple shot thing, or what?
Is still going. Last Thursday we covered the 1960s. So what we're doing is we're covering different music periods. We started off with the 1920s through the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and now we're going to do the 1970s this upcoming Thursday.
That's kind of a cool idea, just going through decade by decade. Is there anything in particular you're focusing on?
Not really. It's just the evolution of music, I would more say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, because the 70s is really where you see music just going all these different directions. You've got, art rock with bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, early Genesis, Rush, people like that, which are more classically oriented, even like Moody Blues. That's who I was trying to think of. And then on the other side, you've got like Iggy Pop, Iggy and the Stooges, and the whole proto-punk, and then into the punk movement, and then you got glam rock, with New York Dolls and Sweet. Kiss is a lot of times people like argue over whether Kiss was glam or not. I don't know. So there's so many different directions you can go with that, that's something I do know a little bit about. I was in a kind of a punk band in the a long time ago, I'll just say. But yeah, so that's cool, man. That sounds like a great show. What time does it usually run on Thursdays?
8 o'clock Eastern.
Right. So that's 7 Central. And does it usually run an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours?
An hour and a half to 2 hours. And the thing that we do about it is we will cover like a certain time period. Like we covered the 1960s earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying with like the 1960s, it's awesome because early 1960s, it's where they were coming out of the real rock and roll, like out of the 50s, and then the mid to late 60s, it was really cool because that's where the psychedelic music started coming out of. You had Woodstock in '69, and
Mm-hmm.
we talked all about that. And then afterwards, talked about more current music drama, I would say. So, like, we talked about the Drake and apparently having an issue with. I don't know. I don't really follow like that drama type stuff, but it's always interesting to find out like what's going on. On a different stream, we did for some with Post Malone. We also, in the 1960s stream, we covered the Paul McCartney is dead conspiracy theory a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a classic. Um, was it 28 if? Or 26 if? I can't remember which one, how old he was supposed to be. On the, the license plate on the car, on the album cover for Sergeant Pepper's. They were saying that it meant that Paul was dead because he would have been 28 if he hadn't died, right? Saying it said 28. I can't remember if it was 28 or 26. It was probably younger. It was probably 26 if. Anyway, so yeah, I was fascinated with all that. Yeah, the whole Paul is dead thing too. Um, got audio is a little too loud. I got to kick the music back just a little bit on this deal. So, all right, so we're getting into a little bit of the meat of it. Talking about is there any favorite music that you've got that you think like a band from the past that you really really like a whole lot, but you don't see a lot of people giving a lot of love to, that you think it's like these guys are a lot better than than people are leading on.
Two of my favorite bands I would have to say is Social Distortion.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody talks up Sublime, but I really like Real Big Fish.
Oh yeah. See, I've never heard of Real Big Fish. I definitely heard of Social Distortion, and they're definitely one of those bands that people talk about that era, and they'll talk about Bad Religion, and a couple other bands. But Social Distortion was really influential on on so many other bands during that era. But yeah, that's excellent stuff, man. Tell me about Big Fish.
Like kind of, you gotta think of like this stoner kind of hippie rock.
Mm-hmm.
That's precursor, you could say, to Sublime.
Okay. All right.
Think that kind of genre, but I think they're underrated.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely psychedelic, and then psychedelic pop. Has been always is played down, in my opinion. Bands like Blue Cheer from the '60s, of course. Jefferson Airplane. Get into the to the heavy duty acid heads, and the Hawkwind is a great band that hardly anybody talks about. Hawkwind gave birth to Lemmy, who became they fired him in Canada because he got busted on speed charge, and they just left him in Canada in jail, and then he left them and formed Motorhead. And Lemmy's story, he started out as a roadie for Jimi Hendrix. Not a lot of people know the Lemmy thing. I'm really into him because I actually met the guy and shook hands with them and talked to them. When I say I meet people, it's not like, I hang out with them all night and, go party with them, until 3 o'clock in the morning. It's usually a handshake and, and a brief conversation. Um, I hear some of these people, man, and, and it's like, oh my God, man, it's like, people hung out with Mick Jagger for 3 days and, blah, blah, blah. And that's like that's not my experience, but that's cool, man. But if I say anything like that, it's usually a brief encounter. But yeah, so I'm a big Motorhead fan, and that was the thrill just to even say hey to Lemmy, and he was doing his own roadie work. He was, he was cleaned up the stage after the show, man. It was great.
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? And even if you start at the bottom and work your way up, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, that's kind of where I get my name from. I love, of course, everybody loves the song Ace of Spades, and I was like, I really dig that song.
Are you fucking kidding? Are you kidding?
Ace of Skulls.
That is awesome.
It's a play on Ace of Spades.
Yes, yeah, dude. I didn't even fucking think of that. Now people don't think I'm full of shit, but I didn't even have any idea you were into Motorhead, man. That's great. That's just cool. Yeah, we could have an hours of conversations about that album, man. I think that album is like a turning point in history. Actually, 1980 was the turning point, I think, for metal in a lot of ways. It was when Dio joined Black Sabbath. A lot of things happened. It was when White Snake changed some of their band members and became, the big pop, deal when MTV later on. So yeah, that's fascinating, man. So you're a Motorhead fan.
Yeah.
Who'd have fucking thunk it?
I have because I asked him to make my character. He do one specifically for like a YouTube icon, but I also want to make you or have him make me a full size playing card where like it has the aces on the corners and everything. So like what you see for my avatar is only a little snippet. I have a full card that he made.
Oh, sweet, dude. I bet that looks awesome too. I'll definitely check it out when we get out of here. Cool. Well, shit, man. So also, I don't know if people know this, but you are a vet, and everybody that I know too that's served in the military, I have an honor, a debt too. I believe that I literally owe my freedom, my ability to bitch about my government, to bitch about whatever I want to, without fear of being put in jail or being denied anything, because of guys like you that put their asses on the line, and a lot of them didn't come back, and that just humbles the fuck out of me, man, because it just blows my mind, that the people that have the courage to do that, it's a volunteer army now, and it's and of course Navy, Air Force, Marines, of course, they include all of them, all armed services when I say army. What now?
Oh, nothing. My wife is putting something in the microwave, so.
All right. Well, shit. Gotta have a hot pocket now, shit, don't you? I mean, But see, what I'm leading up to is it's like, do you want to talk a little bit about your service?
We can talk about it. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. There was a story you told the other night. You want to talk about the striker thing, or you want to wait about that? Is there any stories that stand out to you that you'd like to share?
I was going to say, you talked about the one where I was talking about being in the air guard and having to take a shit.
Yes, exactly.
So, for those of the people who don't know in the chat, a striker is a big-ass military vehicle that has 4 wheels on each side. Think back to the old ducks that they used in World War II. It's like that, but it's completely covered. 4 wheels on each side, and the Iraqi people would call it a boat out of water. Like, that's how much it kind of looks like a boat. Well, so like this might be easier for people to understand. If you've seen the images of the vehicle that has the ramp coming down in the back and the military members coming out of it, that's a striker. Okay. On a striker, near the rear, there's actually 2 hatches, and you open them up and you pull what's called air guard. You're supposed to be looking for anything in the sky or any possible vehicles that are coming up quickly behind you. Well, one of the problems of being up in that position when you're up there for 2, 3, 6 hours sometimes, then, you know, take a shit. So it's up there, and I was letting the guys know, hey man, like, it's coming. Like, I don't know what to do about this. And one of my buddies on the radio was like, I got you. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, just drop your pants. I got you. So I kind of look down and I see a MRE bag under my ass. I'm like, all right, this is how we're fucking doing it today.
That just cracks me up. And so you were able to relieve yourself and not not leave your stake. You know, you exactly you were able to to complete your mission and to complete your other mission at the same time. So I just found that to be fascinating because that's the way that's good teamwork, man. I mean that's and that's the essence of the Army. That old saying, it's the army of one. It's the army of many that forms into one. I'd rather what is it? I'd rather have 100 soldiers than 1,000 warriors. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing about the military is, whether you're currently in or a veteran, there's family. Like, there's a streamer that I know, he's an Air Force vet, and he's freaking awesome. Like, me and him give each other shit. I'm like, yeah, you had to hold those damn chairs down in the chair force, didn't you? And he'll give me shit for being in the Army, but at the end of the day, and we all will hold each other up no matter what we're going through.
Absolutely.
Like another great one is Tennessee Marine. Tennessee Marine is freaking awesome. Like, me and him have given each other shit, but we know it's all good fun.
Yeah, he's great, man. I've streamed a couple of times with Tennessee, and he is funny as shit, and he can troll with the best, man. So I'm sure that the interagency, the inner fighting men rivalry that's between everyone, it's funny as hell to me. But you're right, man. When it comes down to it, when it's time to fucking do the thing, everybody's unified in their mission, and that just like I said, that the ability to put your life on the line is just an amazing thing, and I feel honored, and to be talking to you, man. To be honest, and I say that in all sincerity. So I do thank people for their service, and I thank you.
Well, and I do appreciate that, and it's amazing to hear that now. I think of today's social political climate of like how people rage out against cops, about the military, and different stupid shit like that. There's so many people who don't just understand the simple fact that these aren't people who weren't told to go possibly give their fucking life for the Constitution, for the American people. These are people who volunteered what the risk was when they rose their hands. So them wanting to do that is even more fucking amazing. Like,
absolutely,
how fucking ballsy of an individual do you have to be to do that?
Exactly. That's exactly what my point is whenever I talk to anybody about it, and to be honest, it's like I rarely run into anybody that has anything negative to say about the soldiers today, and I appreciate that because I don't know. I think there's even with the with the libtard commies and shit. A lot of those people have respect for at least the fact that people have put their lives on the line for them to be able to wave that fucking hammer and sickle around like see that I was born during the fucking Cold War, man. So it's like when they do that shit to me, that's fucking sacrilegious. I mean, I was trained to, that one of these days I was going to have a gun and I was going to have to kill a communist at some point. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm not too fond of them.
If it was you or somebody else who was talking about being raised during the Cold War and like that idea of like they one day will invade and you'll have no choice. It's just not even supposed to be a thought where you're going to kill a commie.
Exactly.
Kill a commie for mommy.
Exactly. In retrospect, I realized that all those tornado drills that we were doing, when I was, in first, second, third grade and shit, they weren't tornado drills. Those were like, get in the hallway so we can get nuked all in one place. So those were nuke drills we were doing in retrospect, and that's just like, oh well. It was just really weird, growing up in that time, because it's like I couldn't fathom as a kid, the reality of being on the edge of just nuclear destruction at some point. But if you really think about it, as long as we've got these kind of major weapons and stuff, I think that situation is going to present itself from time to time. And I think as long as we keep our focus as a country intact on the Constitution and maintaining it and upholding it as it is and amending it, if necessary, the legal and correct way will be okay, because we'll always be on the right side of the shit. But that's just my opinion.
Absolutely, and that's also why the assured destruction is there. If Russia launches something, if we launch something, it's basically the end of the goddamn world, because everybody will be like, all right, we're taking everybody out. Fuck this shit. Going back to the Stone Age.
Exactly. Poor, it's like everybody, maybe New Zealand, will be left out of it. I don't know. But yeah, exactly. That's mutually assured destruction was the whole thing. And I strongly recommend that, if you're into learning about the Cold War, or if you're kind of like looking at a great movie that's a great parody about the arms race and shit, is a movie called Dr. Strangelove.
Yes.
Which is it's just fantastic. It's black and white. So some people have a problem with that, but man, it's so goddamn funny, and it's really good, and it deals with the serious fucking situation in a very, very hilarious way. And there's a lot of great acting in it too. So, but I'm going to move on, and let's see. I've got some questions written down here. Okay, all right. Right now, you said you were reading a book by Neil deGrasse Tyson. What's your favorite book?
The funny thing is, I don't really read a lot. So, like, unless I find, like, the topic or subject super interesting, I really don't care. Like, that's one of the beautiful things of YouTube is, like, I could put something on in the background and just cruise around my house, get other stuff done, do some woodworking type stuff, and, like, have it on in the background.
Cool, man. And usually, if it's like if people aren't into books, I'll ask them what their favorite, video game, comic, or TV series, something like that. Is there anything that you find entertaining that you really, that's just part of your, your I don't know how to say it, your yearly ritual, I guess, is one thing you just enjoy doing more, on a regular basis.
The one thing that I always do is every Christmas.
Every Christmas, you what?
Die Hard.
Oh, you watch the Die Hard? Yeah, that's a and people that it does classify as a Christmas movie too. John McClane, man.
You can't really beat that. Like, it's not this soppy Christmas movie. It's action Christmas movie. Like, so technically, I am in the holiday spirit, but at the same time, I'm watching death and destruction. It's a beautiful thing.
That's cool because one of my questions is, "What's your favorite Christmas special and why?" That's excellent, man. That's
I was
good.
going to say, besides that, it's Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey.
Oh, see, I love the old cartoon version of that. Yeah, man, me too. That's just a great story, isn't it? The little
I actually have the Grinch and Max, his dog, tattooed on my shoulder.
Oh, really? That's awesome, man. I love the dog, man. Max is great. That's a great character too.
I love the live action version because Jim Carrey actually brought a lot more personality to the Grinch character versus him just, oh, he's a butthurt asshole, and then he becomes generous. Like, no, like, he gives him personality, he brought more life into it, and so it expanded the character to me in a beautiful way.
I like the way you said that, man. Yeah, that's just he's just in the way that he's treated during throughout the whole deal until the Grinch changes. That's just that's just I don't know. That's excellent, man. That's just this is my favorite one too. So you touched me heart there, bro. Let's see. I got some other questions here. A lot of this is an interesting question that I kind of cooked up because it happened to me, and I don't know. People are iffy about it, so it's like was there a moment when you realized that you weren't a kid anymore? And what was that moment, if there was one? And how did you feel when you realized that you weren't a child anymore?
I would say it was probably in my teenage years when I started seeing some of my friends get into heroin. I didn't see, but one of my friends actually OD'd on it. I'm like, God damn, like, we're not doing like the cute little kid friendly shit anymore, like just hanging out, playing outside. Like, people are getting into hard fucking shit, and probably around the age of like 15 or 16 that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I guess the other time that really smacked me in the face was I got done with basic and AIT in the military. I spent maybe a month with my unit, and then we were going overseas already, and this was in 2008. In that time, it was a part of the surge where the troop members in the 2006-2007 time, they dropped dramatically, and then we had a big push of Iraqi insurgents, different people like that actually coming out of the woodwork and fucking our military up. So what they did is they had something called the surge, and during the surge we just sent a fuck ton of troops over there, oversaturated the area, and then started fucking them up again. That to me was a big smack in the face because I was only 19 at the time.
Right.
So 19, being shipped over to a foreign land where I most likely had the chance of not coming home, like, that was a big fucking smack in my face of like, you're not a kid anymore. You gotta fucking do a lot of grown up adult fucking shit. And part of the thing about my job was I worked in intelligence. So if I was fucking around, if I fucked up, that meant I was killing fucking our troops.
Right. So yeah, that's weren't you when you say intelligence? Talk about that a little bit because there's so many different areas of intelligence. Were you in the signal type part? Where you do is that what it's called? The signal corps?
Yes. Well, there's the signal corps, or there's also SIGINT.
Okay.
So when you break down the different intelligence fields, there's human, omnit, signet, There's imment. So like Signet is signals intelligence. Human is human intelligence.
Right.
Omnet is open source. Image is images intelligence.
Right.
So when you start to kind of break it all down, what I did, I was an intelligence analyst. So I would take everything. I would take human intelligence. I would take anything that we had to our disposal at our classification level and paint a picture of the battlefield. And when we did that, like it would be like something we would have to give briefings, and it would be something to the effect of, all right, you know, you guys are going out to crit, so you guys are going to have to go down MSR Tampa. You know, these are the hot spots that we've been seeing lately. This is what they've been hitting everybody with. So it's really knowing what the enemy's doing, and a lot of it is also called predictive analysis, what you did.
Oh, so was some of that like, all right, so somebody was like predicting where the highest percentage of IED, you know, is if you're going to get hit by an IED, you're going to be, it's probably going to be in this area, and this area. Is that the kind of, all right, is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, so, and also upon that, like, it's like I refuse to be the guy who is just sitting behind a computer while, you know, people are fucking running into, you know, the actual population. Because the thing about it is you can learn a lot about that area, what's going on, and who are the key players just by interacting a little bit with the different areas and the people. So I actually did go out quite a few times and talk to the people in the area, like eyes on, because one of my battalion commanders, he asked me, you know, why would you want to do that? You know, most of the intelligence people, they don't want to actually be out there boots on ground. For me to give you an accurate description, briefing, understanding of the battlefield, I have to be on the battlefield.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me, man. You know, that you would actually want to have eyes on, you know, the situation. And I think you're liable to get, you know, more reliable human intelligence that way. Instead of, you know, relying on, you know, second, third hand information, you can get it maybe, you know, second hand or first hand, you know, from somebody. So that, and then the idea that, you know, I mean, man, that takes a lot of courage, you know, when, you know, you could be, you know, sitting like Croton in the rear with the gear, you know, you could be, you know, you chose to be out there, you know, and scouting out, you know, these, you know, potentially deadly areas, man. That's just, you know, that impresses the hell out of me. You know, and, you know, and it tells me a lot about you. You know, you know, that's that type of danger and stuff. That's not for anybody. I mean, it's like you know, when you're confronted with mortality and stuff, you know, it's like I don't know. I went through some shit with medical, you know, a couple of years ago, and that fucked with my head pretty hard. So you know, it's just like that amount of courage is just blows my mind whenever you know, whenever, you know, somebody like you know, relates that kind of story, you know, it just blows me away, man.
And I'm a firm believer on what your past experiences, like whether it was childhood, teenage years, or whatever, shape your own personal courage and strength. So when it comes to things like that, like I've been through some fucked up times in my life. Like I was homeless even at one point. But the will to drive on, the will to never stop giving up, and the will to keep pushing yourself as a person to be better, stronger, smarter, faster, like that says more about your personal character than anything else.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. All right, just kind of change the subject just a little bit and go in a little bit different direction. All right, blondes, brunettes, or redheads?
And brunettes, a little that dirty blonde.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Now I've got a second question. All right. Out of brunettes, all right, is Gil Gadot or Mila Kunis?
Uh,
Yeah, you like Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman?
yeah, I would have to go with her because I have a feeling like she could kick my ass, and that would be a fun fight.
Outstanding, man. Outstanding. I like it, man. Somebody gonna wrestle me, man. That's right. What's your favorite horror sci-fi movie?
Probably be the original Nightmare on Elm Street or Creep Show.
Oh wow, cool. So you got Wes Craven and Stephen King there. Cool. Um, Nightmare was, that's one of those, the turning points, and like we were talking about turning points in heavy metal. I think Nightmare was one of those turning points in horror too. Especially when they started getting into the third, movie where, Freddy's character went more comical, and then the idea of comedy creeping into horror, that kind of opened the door for that. But yeah, man. Let's see. So backing up to the military thing, what made you decide that I'm gonna join the military?
It was always like a little bit back in my mind of like I would like to join the military at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, really, and I know it sounds very cliche, but 9/11 happened, and 12 or 13 at the time, and our living with us, he was in the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got activated, and he went over to Kuwait. He didn't, have to go actually do anything in Iraq or anything like that. But seeing that personal courage, like seeing him just packing up his shit and going, all right, I gotta go. This is what it is, and I'm gonna do this thing. It a huge impression on me, and like I always kind of almost idolized that image of a soldier at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then another big factor for me was when I wanted to go into the military, testing for the ASVAB and whatnot. And the ASVAB is the military test where you just get in. They tell you based off your scores, this would be the best jobs for you and whatnot. Well, when it came back that I could be in military intelligence, that even more, because for me, school is not really, it's so boring and dull. It's just annoying to me. And I had a lot of teachers tell me that I was stupid. I wasn't going to do anything with my life. I wasn't going to amount to anything, blah, blah, blah. I also did it as like a statement to say fuck you to those soldiers or teachers.
Well, you know what it is, man. It sounds like to me that if you scored so high on the intelligence, that tells me that you just weren't challenged. The level that they were, educating you at was, way below, what kind of stimulus you needed to be engaged in that process. People overlook that shit and they want to put it on everybody else, but shit, there's just a lot of shitty teachers out there.
And now looking back at it, like I completely see that I wasn't challenged. And the funny thing about it is, like, when it comes to reading, like, not the biggest subject, I don't really care when it comes to that. But when it comes to things like math and science and different things like that, like, so I have 3 kids, and my oldest daughter is, but when it comes to science and math, she freaking excels. So already I'm seeing that same pattern with her that I had. So I'm already looking at, okay, how can I make this experience for her? Because she's already getting to the grind of like, I don't like school, and she's only going into the 2nd grade. So like, how could I, and this again, where the whole past experiences and moving forward positively help you in the future. And like, this is one of those moments.
Excellent. And I do want to remind everybody that to subscribe to Ace of Skulls at this just take a little break here, and his Streamlabs, Twitter, YouTube channel, Discord, and Patreon are all listed in the description. So please. Please do yourself a favor and subscribe to his channel. And thanks for all the new subscriptions. I appreciate every one of y'all. So moving on, let's see. All right, if you could, talk to a kid who is leaving tomorrow to go to boot camp, what would you tell them?
Military is what you make it. If you want to be shit, if you want to excel, do some amazing shit that you will never be able to do in the civilian world, then keep at it. Don't get discouraged no matter what anybody says, no matter what rumors that you hear, your NCOs, because if they see that you are trying to better yourself, they will be encouraged to better you.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, hopefully if somebody is, fixing to go into, the military and they hear this, that's kind of the point of doing this kind of thing, because I think it's important. I don't know, man. When I just felt that, there was a lot of gravity going on there with you. So what's your guilty pleasure? What's the thing that you're into that you're you're reticent to admit to, if that's the word, that you're hesitant. That's it. That's the word, to admit.
I can totally get down with some Demi Lovato songs.
There you go. Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm into Poppy right now. I don't know why, man. I just like that that reggae song she's got is great, and the J-pop sound and shit's good too. Isn't that weird? And I swear I wasn't stoned when I came up with these questions. But I don't want to sound morbid, but it's like how do you want to go out? You know what I'm saying? Looking down the road when you're an old man, and it's on everybody's, to-do list at some point.
Well, when it really comes down to it, say I'm on my deathbed, the best thing that I could honestly ever have is my kids standing around me and going, had the best answer, but you always did your best and you always looked out for us. And that to me would mean more than anything else.
That's excellent, man, because it seems like you're so focused on your family and you really love your kids so much. That's a lot of times people don't understand. Sometimes kids would rather have, to a child, time is what they see their father giving his time to is what's most important to them. And I think that a child getting time, just time from the father is so important. And I see you all the time, holding, loving on your daughter, and that's a good thing, man. I really do think. People are out in the thing saying fright power. Just want to give them a fright power out there. But yeah, man, I was thinking, if they decide not to cremate me, which I want them to, or actually even if they do the cremation, I want a plan. I'm going to hire a ventriloquist to show up at the funeral and just kind of go, "Help me, get me out of here." Kind of like throw his voice to make it sound like I'm in the, still alive in the casket or in the or in the crematorium or some shit, just to fuck with everybody one last time. It's funnier in my head.
Animatronic, like a leg to kick up. Service. Casket.
Oh,
Help me kick.
Sunrise just donated $10 and said thanks for your service, man. Um, so appreciate everything. Anyway, so what were you just saying? Say that again.
I was saying that you need to get like a animatronic leg so that way you could have a kick up on the casket.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, man. I think that's a good idea. Just
Let
one.
me just say, as a father, like if you have daughters, the fucking guy who gets there and goes, "Oh well, I'm not gonna paint their nails or have them do anything like that." Like, no, braid their hair, paint their toes, let them paint your fucking toenails. Don't be above that because that is something that your daughters will never forget. Like, my dad was this awesome. Like, we had so much fun together.
Exactly. Yeah, no, man. I totally get that. You know, that doesn't. And to be honest with you, every guy that I know that has daughters, you know, that, that they love it when they just hang out and the little girls just love it. Some of the guys I know had longer hair and stuff, and they let the girls braid his hair and let him fucking paint his nails and stuff, and it was just it's just that together that together time is what I was talking about. And that means so much to the kid.
I'll brush my daughter's hair, and my youngest will sit there and go, "Okay, Daddy, I brush your beard now."
Well, and a lot that I think that was more valuable to the child than like going to fucking boarding school and being and growing up rich necessarily. I think they'd rather be happy than not necessarily wanting. You raise a good kid, they're going to be able to do and provide too, for themselves. But that's yeah, man, that's excellent. I want to see your fingernails next time you're on camera.
I only let them do my toenails.
And okay. No, I'm not into feet, so but there's a couple. I'm sure there's maybe William Stenchover out there would like to look at your painted toenails at some point. I heard he's into feet. Just taking a poke, William. Um, but yeah, so what a lot of people, they'll recognize you is that you've got this extremely expressive face. And a lot of times you'll be eating popcorn and making faces at the camera and reacting to the camera like, this is between us, and that's one of the first things that really kind of caught me about you. I said, oh shit, that dude's interesting. And you would make me laugh, especially when somebody would say something, you'd like, you go, I could tell, you're really expressive with your eyes. It's really hard to act with your eyes and, and not talk like you do. So you're really good at that, man. And it's funny as shit. So that's that. If you don't recognize him now, you should recognize him now. Okay, because he's the guy eating the popcorn on on a lot of cunt streams, and occasionally We'll see him. What you've done that also on a couple of trippy streams, haven't you?
Most of the time when there's drama, like I'll pull out the bag of popcorn and just go to town, kind of make a fool of myself. But it helps lighten up that drama where people aren't really sitting there going, well, I'm so sick of the drama. I'm so, overall of this shit. And it gives a little bit of comic relief to it. And I'm glad that I can provide that because so many times I've heard people say, Ace, you are the chat right now because it just the way that you're expressing it and it gives a good relief.
Exactly. Shit, man. I think. Hold on a second. Does anybody in the chat have any questions they want to ask our man Ace over here?
I was going to say, and one of the reasons why I'm pretty expressive with my face and with my eyes like that, I've been learning ASL. So actually, if you watch, I will throw out a little bit of sign language as well with that.
Oh, so you know sign?
I do know a fair bit where I can hold conversation. My wife is actually fluent because some of her family is deaf.
Oh, wow.
So, so yeah, she's been teaching me because I do have hearing problems. So she she's in the other room, and I see her sitting there shaking her head like, "Yes, you do have hearing problems." But help and teach me so that way not only could I have a conversation with her, but I could have a conversation with her family, and we've also been teaching our kids. So that way, it's a good, valuable skill. Later on in their life, if they know somebody who is hard of hearing or deaf, they could actually have a conversation, and that person won't feel so ostracized.
Dude, my dad he's really old right now, man, and he is deaf as a fucking stump. And and he keeps buying. I mean, he has spent so much money on hearing aids, man. And they work for a little while because they kick up a certain a certain band in the frequency that his nerve endings can detect, right, just a little bit, right. And so he thinks they're going to work, and then of course at some point the nerve endings become numb to even those frequencies, and he just keeps on and on. I was like, dude, man, let's all learn sign language. I'll be willing to sit down and do it with you. And he's just like, I'm just too old. I'll just read your lips. And it's really kind of sad, watching them go deaf when I know we could be effectively communicating with each other. When it's like he's maybe picking up maybe 50% at best of what's really going on, and it's sad, man. It really is.
Well, I'm just throwing this out there as a suggestion. You can always learn sign language and while you're talking to him, you still sign, so that way he starts to pick up on it, and maybe he would be more inclined then to actually do it, and like, okay, I could have a good flowing conversation. I understand more what you're saying now.
That's a great idea, man. Thanks. It's like I think somebody had said that to me before, but they didn't say it like you just said that, and I like it. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to talk to Uzi about that, maybe, because I'm sure there's some stuff online now where he could probably even learn it for nothing. Um, you know, I got a couple more questions for you. Okay, what about cheese whiz, canned cheese? Yes or no?
And that plus chicken and biscuit.
You down with that shit?
God, yeah. Only the bacon flavored one.
Bacon flavored cheese whiz and chicken and a biscuit. Oh Jesus, man! See, that's it. That's in. The chicken and a biscuit is a whole different thing from my fucking own personal iconography, man. That takes me back to a long time ago. Anyway, so it's really weird, dude. You're hitting on shit, man, that I didn't know about you. That there's these weird, things that we have in common, like chicken and a biscuit. That's so weird. All right, so and we're coming up near like 7 minutes to the top of the hour, and I want you to ponder this because I think this is a really good question, and because I've often talked about my answer to this question. But what do you think is the best decision that you've made in your life as a child, and then your life as an adult?
As I kind of reflect on that, I will let you know there's a website that you can go to. It's called lifeprint.com. They have 100 basic signs for sign language. They have all sorts of different information and good videos on there to help start to learn and improve sign language. So if you want a starting point, there's a starting point right there.
Cool. All right, you want to put that address in the chat? Have I given you a wrench yet?
Sure you have. But I would probably say one of the best decisions I've made so far in my adult life is actually buckling down, having a family, and seeing the work that I've put into it, and my family grow, and how we've developed, and myself, how I've developed even more as an individual by having this family, and how it's made me a better person.
That's awesome, man. So, it's like talking about like families and marriage and stuff. It's like it's such a strange thing because nowadays it's to a point of where marriages are almost just like, relationships, when I don't know about you in your 20s or some shit. It's like, you hang out, you maybe move in together, and then when you get sick of each other, you just quit and just, you move on to the next person and shit, right? And that's something that, I told EZQ. It's like I don't want it to be like that for us. I'm making a lifelong commitment, and I plan to, to stay. We've been married over 20 something years, and I plan to, be married to her, when I die. And having the guts to get in a relationship like that. So that's the greatest adult decision I made, was to marry Ezekiel. And I'll say that without any compunction whatsoever. She's made me a better person. We've been through some magnificently fun, incredibly insane shit, and then we've been through some, very terrible stuff. But we've all kept growing. We've kept communicating, and I'm closer today to her now than I was, during our honeymoon. And all that other stuff, the fun part about being married, the practice making babies,
Oh yeah.
that gets better and better, man. If and the key is just communicating and being completely honest, even if you've got something really painful and negative to say to the other person, you know, and I don't know, man. That's just a that's good to hear you talk about that, because a lot of people will say other shit, or talk about buying a car, or something really not so substantive about that. So that's one of those questions I like to ask everybody. And I've just started really doing this ice cream thing as an official part of the Irate Prostate channel family of CREEM. I've got the cream stream on Friday nights, and then I do this ice cream thing, and then occasionally there's drama that I call sour cream, and then there's other stuff which I call whipped cream, which is usually something like I whip up, like oh shit, let's stream about this, and do a spontaneous thing. So ice cream is now an official part of the Irate Prostate Channel network of cream shows, and at this point, I'm going to call it bi-weekly. It'll probably go weekly at some time. So I just wanted to put that out there before we start wrapping stuff up. So Ace, you've been all right. So you said you've been on doing this for just a couple of months. Where do you want to see your channel go? What do you want to do in the future?
Well, I don't have any real quote unquote plans. Like at one point I thought, okay, it would be nice to do it like a news type of thing, where we talk about things like that. But the direction that I see it going is, different topics that I'm interested in. Like I want to say it was either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I did a stream on my Sunday shenanigans stream, and it was about conspiracy theories. Blessed enough to have Cognitive Thought show up, and he was sitting there talking about different conspiracy theories. For somebody who has less than 100 subs and has somebody like Cognitive Thought show up, I feel freaking blessed by something like that. And that's where I've been going of like, okay, what do the people want to hear? What
I think I was in that stream with you, man. Yeah, it's really weird because I've kind of like want to go in a direction where I don't focus as much on the conspiracy part of it, but I want to talk about like secret military projects. I'm fascinated with DARPA and all the technology that's come out of that it's like a scientific wing, I guess, of the CIA. I don't know exactly how it's classified within the governmental structure, but yeah, and talk about some I like the more obscure, like Kurt Cobain, that kind of conspiracy stuff, like what really killed him, and how, because there's some question marks about that, there.
And not just conspiracy theories, right?
Right.
I would love to get a Tem the Hun and Kadunt on to talk about different religious things. I would love to get a few other people who are vets on to talk about different military experiences, both positive and negative.
That's a brilliant idea, man.
So just like I'm trying to do it where it's for everybody, no matter what the subject is, you could find some sort of brilliance in it. Like I did one stream about why don't they always use tasers, when it comes to cops. Well, tasers don't always work, and there's certain circumstances where you can't use a taser. It's better to put rounds down range. So, and like that's another thing about me. Like I am heavily into firearms. I carry every single freaking day. So, like, if anybody ever has a firearms question, I will be glad to answer them. I, concealed carry too. So, like, things like that. It's a complicated world because there are certain laws that you have to follow and different things like that. So, like, just, I try to be more of like an all-around person where, depending on the subject, we could talk about it. I may not know everything, but I will express my opinion. If you tell me I'm wrong, that's awesome. I'm wrong. And explain to me why I'm wrong. And I'll come back and go, oh, yeah, you're wrong. Like, I'm not going to be the big dick cheese and go, well, I'm right about everything. No. I know I'm most likely wrong on, and I could be stupid about. We could have a simple discussion, and you could express why I'm wrong. Totally, I'm down to hear it, and let's fucking figure it out and move it forward, so that way we can get valuable information out to people.
That's exactly right, man. Because it's like, how do if you can't learn if you close yourself off to any kind of criticism, because criticism has always got a negative connotation to it, right? And really, what a good criticism is it's just an honest appraisal of something, about you or about what you're doing or about how you're living or whatever that can be improved upon. That's all. It's just right. And if you take it that way, it's like like an art critic or some shit like that. I used to sit in art. I took a lot of art classes, and a lot of it was critique, right? Well, we'd sit in a circle and talk to other people about how they could make their art better. And a lot of times, people would take it personal and shit, and would get like pretty fucking dramatic and stuff. And then by the end, by the fourth year, it's like everybody's going, man, I didn't think about that. You're right. And so it's just opening up to that and not being so, I guess so much of a crybaby about, hearing something honest, that somebody sees in you that you don't see yourself. So yeah, you're right. You're spot fucking on with that, man. So everybody, we need to wrap this up. But I do want to thank Ace. I want to thank you for taking your time out of your busy busy life and hanging out with me and talking. People out in the chat, I wanted y'all to meet this guy because he just hit me upside the head when I met him with his you're obviously gotten a brief snapshot of what this guy's all about, and and hopefully, I want you all to, make sure you sub to him because this dude is criminally undersubbed. He's a fascinating person, and I think that YouTube's only going to be a better place because he's here. So, with that being said, Ace, you want to close out with anything?
Uh, if anybody's in the chat and wants to discuss a topic further or has an idea for a topic, I am down for it. My Twitter is completely open. Shoot me a message. You can find the link in the description. Like I said, I have the musical literacy show that we do, and I typically do a Sunday stream, but I'm not going to do one today because me and my family are going to go out of town this week, so we're trying to prepare for that, and herd the kids into a good position to get that going.
Cool. All right. Well, with that being said, I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and wrap it up and say thanks everybody for showing up for Ice Cream number 4, an interview with Ace of Skulls. It's been nothing but fun for me. This guy is awesome. So I'm just there's nothing more I can say that I haven't really said. So with that in mind, y'all have a great week. I want to thank all you cyberspace cadets for coming out, and we'll see you tomorrow on Chaos 120. Irate Mondays. Bye, y'all.